is Title Professionals thinking of starting one? Or you already started
We
one?
actually do, and I just sort of, I don't know. Here's a question. I'm just going to start right out with questions. Okay, so what is the difference in a podcast that's audio and a podcast that has video? I mean, isn't the definition of podcast it's just audio? Like, what's the video part? Like, I'm really confused about this.
I think it's to help with the search engine optimization part of it. It's like if you're already doing the audio, why not just record the video too? Also have that on YouTube. And it's just another level. If you're doing the work already, why not also post it here and also get the search engine stuff?
All right, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yes, and to go back, yes, we did start a podcast. Right now I'm just sort of like limping. I don't know what I'm doing is the reality. Like, that's why I'm here. Help me.
So what I could add to that was, I know a number of people were doing, like you said, doing video podcasts, and they were putting that on YouTube. So some of the podcasting hosting platforms have now implemented a video also. So instead of you posting your videos on YouTube and them losing that traffic, they're allowing you to post a video on their platforms also. Anchor, for example, does that now, where most people, like I said, were doing a video because they were in front of the computer anyway. So they just recorded themselves talking about what they were talking about, putting the audio on the hosting platform and going from there. I think it's 2 versions, and allows people to, if they just want to listen and keep it moving, then they can do that. But if they want to look at something, then they have that option too. So.
Okay, so I use Anchor. So Anchor can allow you to record video. I haven't looked at it that much other than just to record what I have.
I haven't looked at it. I've got a number of emails. I've just really gotten the plan to get back started since we decided to host this. So I did maybe 5 episodes and I dropped off. And my goal is to get back on. And I figure, I might as well do the video at the same time. So.
Yeah. What kind of feedback? Was it good or bad?
Hey, good morning.
Morning. Sorry.
Morning. You're fine. And hey, Zane, come on in. Do you know Laura?
No, hi, Laura.
And then we have a few people on Zoom, so you may want to sit on this side so you can see both. We don't bite, I promise. And you're with EXP, right? Yes. And Gretchen, thank you for joining us. Gretchen does marketing for the chamber.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Nice.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for putting out great podcasts in our area. Yes. No.
Did you have any feedback, Tanner?
As far as video, I found that when I had the video being put on along with the podcast, that it didn't really move the needle on people that download it or whatever, or look or watch the video. So that's why I went away from it personally. I feel like you need to pick one to start with, and then you can kind of go from there. But if you're trying to kind of do both at the same time, I didn't find that personally, I didn't get too much out of it. But I like listening to podcasts personally, and then watching videos. I'll definitely watch YouTube videos, but I'm not watching a lot of like podcast type YouTube videos. So I love YouTube. I don't know about the rest of you, but I go down a lot of rabbit holes on YouTube and stuff.
Yes.
I start off on like looking at cars, and then I'm looking at sports cars, and the next thing I know, I'm on like World War II images, or like what was life like on the. I know you're former Navy or retired Navy, so it's like what was the the birthing area like 50 years ago. I find that just pretty crazy. So
yeah, that is a benefit of podcasts. You can stay on focus, on task more than you can on YouTube.
Right. And so I feel with podcasts, because it's more of a background noise when you're doing something versus video, I'm watching it and now you've lost my attention and now I'm clicking on something else. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Interesting.
That's funny. When I post ours, I post a video, but it's not the video of us actually talking. It's just the audio with a thumbnail that stays up the whole time. So I post with the thinking that people aren't really going to watch it for the video portion of it. It's literally just for the search engine part when I
Right.
post on
And that's how we
YouTube.
do it at
Then
the
you don't have to
chamber.
post a true video. Sorry, go ahead, Gretchen.
That's how we do it at the chamber as well for our Leader to Leader podcast.
Okay, so you're posting it on YouTube with a thumbnail and just the audio.
Correct.
Is there a trick to doing that? Or is it just I could figure it out on my own?
You have to find a so the format that it gives you to get, like any of these platforms that you're doing your podcast, is an MP3, and there's a lot of converters for MP4 that are free. That's really what you have to do, is convert it into that format. And then
But
once you
gotta
do
take it-
that,
Okay, so I've got to convert it to MP4.
correct. And if you literally do a Google search from MP3 to MP4, there's quite a few free converters that pop up.
Do you have one you recommend?
The one that we use, hang on just a second.
I don't trust myself to choose one.
Yeah, I mean, it's freeconvert.com. And I don't know that that's the best, but it's easy. Because some
That's
of
what I
these,
want.
for the free ones, it's you can only do so much data before you have to wait, right? They want you to either pay or you have to wait like a week, whatever the time frame is, to be able to download more stuff. This one doesn't do that.
So once I've converted to MP4, then YouTube will allow me to upload it with a thumbnail.
Correct. And you upload it just like you do any other video at that point.
Okay, that's interesting. See, I learned something already.
Yeah. And I've heard some like recommendations, like if you can get the podcast like transcribed, you can also copy and paste the full transcript into your description too. I've heard there might be some value in that. Michael, does that sound right?
Well, yeah, I know you can do that. I don't know about how far any value. If you have some good keywords or tags in that description, it could take you places. But other than that, I don't know how much value it would be. But
and YouTube
certainly
will
do
do that. YouTube will transcribe for you. The only trick there is it does pick up every like, oh, you know what I mean? So it's very phonetic.
Right. I've used one, I think it's like Otter. Yeah.
Otter AI.
Yeah, I've used that to transcribe a few times. Because for us also, when we're posting things like to our blog pages, because we'll also post the podcast there, we're also thinking about ADA stuff. And what if someone, couldn't hear it? So we want to make sure we have the transcript wherever we post it,
Right.
whenever we can, also. Just to cover our tails.
Okay, I'm trying to find this one.
Tanner, what hosting are you using?
Simplecast.
Simplecast?
Yeah.
That sounds easy to use.
right. Maybe I should rename the mortgage company name and go simple mortgage or something. That's a platform that I have an editor that does them for me, and he posts them on there, and so that's what he uses.
Oh, an editor. Are they local or do you send it off somewhere?
No, he's in New York. And
So it's,
what's that?
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's in New York. We're 31 episodes in. I kind of just found him on Fiverr and took it from there, and kind of made a good relationship out of it. And it's been, he works hard, and I took a chance on him, and he was kind of thankful for it, so it's worked out really well.
Tanner, what's your podcast called?
Virginia is for Realtors.
Zane, do you have a podcast yet? Or are you thinking about starting one?
I started the Facebook page. It's called Nerds on the Estate.
Oh,
Nerds
that.
on the Estate.
Yeah, because the acronym becomes NOTE. So NOTE podcast.
Cool.
Oh.
I like it.
So I'll put in the chat Descript. don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's they have a free and a paid version, obviously. Sort of like where Gretchen was talking about, you could do so much until they charge you. But there's they have the ability to take your ums and your ahs and your okays out, and then you can also edit it text wise, and it'll also edit the video. So if somebody wants to start out, they actually lean towards podcasts and in their software development. So I would check that out if you guys are interested.
I think that's like the biggest part of what my guy gets paid for is taking those out.
Right, thanks for the
Right.
job. So Tanner, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit. Simplecast, is that a platform like Anchor where you record your podcast there? Is that what, and then it disseminates outward?
That I don't know. I do mine through Zoom and then upload to a server for him, and then he chops it up and then puts it over on Simplecast. But Zoom is how I do mine.
Okay.
And we've done some of ours through Zoom too, if we can't get someone here in person.
I used to think that it could potentially, I don't know, wouldn't be as good because you're not sitting across from them and talking whatever, but I actually find that it's surprisingly effective with Zoom, and it saves you the coordination of, all right, we're going to meet at Starbucks or whatever. And I don't know, I found it to be really helpful.
Okay, so you're basically having your Zoom meeting, that's your podcast with your person that you're speaking with, recording it, sending it out to your editor who works his magic and then uploads it to Simplecast.
Correct. Yep.
That sounds like a good way to do it.
Trying to make sure I understand.
And Simplecast I assume will feed it to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the big ones,
Spotify.
right?
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, and Amazon. That was my favorite one when you say like, Alexa, play Virginia's for Realtors, and that'll come up. It's kind of cool.
Cool.
I actually don't know if ours go to Amazon. I
So
have to double check that.
I'm gonna do that. Virginia's for Realtors.
Gretchen and Tanner, do you guys happen to use Rodecaster Pros for your audio, or how are you doing that portion?
I'll go first if it's okay. I don't. I just I get a mic and headset, kind of like the one you're wearing right now, over to the agent, and then make sure their audio quality is as good as it can get on plugging it in. I learned that on the very first lesson. I had my nice fancy headset and microphone and thought I was real cool. And then my first interviewer, his audio sucked and he had a lot of good content, but he was in a really bad acoustic room for it. And I learned that that wasn't going to work long term.
Okay, good tip.
So when we were doing our business to business podcast, we were just doing Zoom, and it was whatever, any audio. Now for our leader to leader, we have actually a podcast room set up here in our offices. So it's microphones, headphones,
Nice.
the little system. I don't know what that's
Okay.
called, but so we have a more
Awesome.
formal setup. So we've actually thought, and feedback from you guys would be great, is that of value to people to be able to use that space?
Yes, very much so. I have people ask me sometimes if we have that here, and I have to tell them, no, not really.
Okay.
I mean, we have a studio, but it's not really set up for podcasting. There's no, chairs and tables.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that being valuable. If you wanted to talk to somebody, if they were close by to your location and you didn't have the portable equipment, you can always maybe get a time frame, have them meet you there, do the podcast, just using you guys' space. I think that'd be great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, we've been toying with that. So I'll definitely give that feedback to the team.
Gretchen, are you saying that's a service you would want to offer to chamber members? Hey, we've got this podcast room, you can sign up to use it, or just
Correct.
use it internally? Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
I think that's, as a chamber member, I think that's a great idea.
And then of course, for non-chamber members, there would definitely be a fee. And I don't know if it would be a minimal fee for chamber, like, I don't know, $50 or something like that. I have no idea. but it is something that we've been talking about. You know, we have a huge space right now that with a staff of 8 we don't utilize fully, and the podcast room is one of those rooms.
I feel like we should have recorded this and it could be a podcast about a podcast.
You know, I did have that idea this morning, and technically it could be because we are recording it,
Oh.
just in case. So we could definitely do that. Does everyone want to make this a podcast?
I'm just being silly.
Yo, I heard you like podcasts, so I put a podcast in your podcast.
Yes.
Roundtable.
This is a podcast about a
I need more coffee.
podcast. Should have stopped.
Oh, so Michael, you use Anchor, right? And Anchor does a few more things than a regular hosting software does, right?
Well, I got started with Anchor because they actually sent me an email because of my blog. They said they could, turn my blog articles into podcasts, and so I set up through them. One of the things they do is connect you with sponsors. So if you depending on how far you're along in your podcasting journey, you can get more sponsors. You can also have, I want to call them fans. They call them something else. Like if your mom, your wife, your whoever wants to sponsor your channel, they can contribute so much a month or something like that to help you do what you do. Basically, like buying you a cup of coffee type thing. They also syndicate to other platforms, Amazon, Apple, and all those platforms. And I'm sure most of the other do that as well. Podbean is another one I think I've heard of that's similar. And
Wasn't there one where it would upload the intro and outro to the main?
so I haven't done mine in a while, so it's trying to come back to me. You're right. You can record a separate intro and an outro, and you can just cue that in. Basically, they're like segments. You do the intro and outro, and then you record the podcast, and it puts them together for you. So you can have a special recorded intro that you do, and that will go in the beginning of every one of your podcasts. And then
I've actually done that. Like I've done that on Anchor.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So it was Anchor. Good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is Anchor.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Anchor, yes. So the person I spoke to about podcasting and who kind of got me started on the journey is Gordon Duncan. I don't know if y'all know him. He knows
Mhm.
all the things, social media and podcasts, and he's so good at it. And I'm like, give me the kindergartner's version of how to do podcasts. And so he was like, look, you record this introduction and you can stick it with put it at the beginning of everything. And you only have to do it once, which I thought, well, that's fantastic because, it's one
Right.
less thing to screw up once you have that in
Right.
place, and it's pretty simple. I'm not so great at editing internally with the actual podcast, like pulling things out, but I think that's just me. I need to work it a little bit more and try a little harder to, get on board with it. I'm trying.
But I like that because, like I said, it brings consistency to your podcast. You do your intro, and then your topic is whatever your topic is, and then do your outro. That's great if you want it. And then it allows you to, like I say, if you have a sponsor, you can put it in between those particular parts, your intro, your outro, your body. Depending on how long your podcast is, you can have more or less sponsors in there. Not sure if that's of interest to anyone, but just it's a opportunity, and that was one of the things that kept me on Anchor.
So, Tanner, for example, how long is an average podcast for you?
Probably he cuts it down probably like 45 minutes, somewhere around there. And then
Okay.
when I have somebody on, it's probably talking for like an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Okay, that's pretty long.
Yeah.
Wait.
I think the biggest thing that I learned too is like trying to have the questions that I'm going to ask to steer the podcast kind of the direction I want it to go. Sometimes, you get really good information from people and sometimes you don't, but just kind of go, the questions are important, I found, especially with the format I do.
Do you send your guests the questions ahead of time, or do you just ask them as they're there? Okay.
Yeah, I send it to them ahead of time just to make sure that So like one of my questions is like, tell me about a mentor, your mentor when you got in the business, or did you have one? And sometimes people may have they broke from their mentor and it wasn't a great, it wasn't a agreeable split. And so we don't really want to talk about that. I don't want to blindside them on the podcast and be like, okay, so tell me about your mentor. And then they're like, well, and I learned that one. That was a good one to stay away from. So especially give it to them ahead of time and let them tell you.
Who would
Gotcha,
have thought it
cool.
was such a loaded question for some people?
Yeah. Well, depending on how much people have jumped around for sure.
Okay, cool. Because I listen to Pat Flynn on YouTube. He's got a great article on podcasting, among some other things he talks about. But he's more of I think he said he started out with a script, but now he's more of a wing it. He doesn't say wing it, but I say wing it. Kind of a platform. So I was just curious.
I think that's a fair point. Like the more you kind of go along, like I always try to ask a couple. I want to have my big questions in there that I like. So for example, I always like asking an agent, tell me about a bold move you made that got you a deal, because I think that's interesting. So it could be, I've had one agent tell me like, hey, there was a house down the street for sale. I saw a car, I was out mowing my yard or whatever. I saw a car go by that house, drive real slow. And she was like, screw it, I'm going to run after this car, because they had stopped in front of the house. She knocked on the window, was like, hey, I don't know if you guys have representation already, but here's my card. And they ended up being a client. It could be everything from like, door knocking. I mean, Amy Cherry Taylor is like one of our biggest agents in the area, and nobody would have ever thought Amy Cherry Taylor at one point was knocking on doors, which is pretty crazy. So I like big questions, not crazy like, oh my gosh, it's just more like, wow, somebody starts from a humble beginning and look where they ended up. So I like that question. And then the one I end my podcast on is tell me a funny story like about the real estate industry. It could be a showing, could be a closing, could be hey, we walked into this house. And a lot of agents have good stories, especially if they've been doing it for a long time. Like, I don't know if anybody's seen the movie The Ring, but that scared the crap out of me for a long ass time. And I had an agent tell me that she helped the client purchase a house. The house was built pre-1900, and it had a well in the back of the house, like it was an addition. The well was covered by a board, and the client still ended up buying the house. I was like, holy cow, no way in the world you can buy that. It's like in the house, So just stuff like that, I thought was pretty, those are my go-tos.
Okay.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Thank you.
What's the name of your podcast again?
Virginia is for Realtors.
Okay.
So Gretchen, you said the chamber had the business to business and the leader to leader. Are they doing 2 series at one time, or is one of them kind of on pause while the other one is?
Yeah, so the We Mean Business podcast is on pause. It was developed out of COVID to try and keep businesses in front of people. But the Leader to Leader is an ongoing podcast, and Susan Spears, our CEO, she invites leaders in the community kind of based on what is going on for us. So we have our first responders appreciation breakfast at the end of this month. So she's currently interviewing all the captains, chiefs, and sheriffs to kind of, go along with that as we promote the event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds like that'll be a nice event.
Yeah, just a plug, we got the lieutenant governor. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, Winsome Sears will be there as our keynote, which everyone's pretty geeked out about. I'm sorry, what was the platform that you used that you said got you onto Amazon as well?
My guy got me onto Amazon. I'm not actually sure what he used for that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And honestly, SoundCloud might do it too. I just may not have
Yeah.
paid attention.
Anchor
to it.
definitely does it, and that's one of the reasons I was told to use Anchor. Is it was pretty user friendly getting the podcast out on different platforms.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Go ahead,
sorry. I really like that idea of Amazon because Bing runs Amazon, right? So it's just another search engine to get ourselves on.
I didn't think about that. That's smart.
Yeah, because Google has their own in-home like systems.
Mhm.
So Amazon doesn't use Google when it indexes stuff, they use Bing, which I thought was interesting. And we ask her everything in my house. So being able to say, hey, play me this or tell me about this podcast, that's really great.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah. She knows everything.
Hey, Gretchen,
Yes.
He does.
when you get a chance, can you drop your URL for your podcast in the chat?
Yeah, of course.
We'd like to have all this for posterity. So yeah, so no, I think we'll get some great tips from you, more advanced users. Certainly appreciate it. Definitely motivated me to get back on the stick. I think one of the other things I'm going to do before I get back on stick which is one of the tips that I heard but did not practice, was I want to try and get a few episodes batched up before I go back live again. So I want to come up with at least 5 topics that I want to talk about, and then get those out.
What's the focus of your podcast, Michael?
Well, and I got to get that ironed back out again now. Before I was doing, trying to gear towards clients, talking about, this is how you buy a home. This is how you sell a home. Those type of tips. I was talking about that. But recently I've started another website where I gear more of my stuff towards real estate agents. So I think I'm going to switch my podcast and talk about, my thoughts when I started an agent, the mistakes I think that I made, maybe starting at talking about from a beginner's perspective, to say, hey, well, what were your feelings? What did you think about what made you become a realtor? Those type of topics. I think I want to touch more on that. That I think be more interesting for me to continue. So.
Cool.
Yeah. So just got to figure out some topics.
Yeah, I think we started out super ambitious and we're releasing them every 2 weeks. And without Mackenzie here, it just really wasn't sustainable to keep doing that. So we're down to like 1 a quarter.
I'm shooting for like 1 a month.
But the batching idea is a good idea, Michael. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can get a few ideas down and then produce a few in one day, it's a little easier to just release them as.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part too, because if you skip a couple weeks, and then a week can become a month pretty quick, and whatever momentum you have, it kind of slows down. So like me, my issue has been getting agents who potentially want to come on. There's a good number of them. I think I'm up to 30. So I've got 34 episodes, but you can only run through many people so many times, right? So they busy or don't want to do it or whatever, and that's a hard part. I guess for any podcast person is getting a guest on.
Mhm.
You might have some willing participants.
I
here.
know. I'm like, well, I mean, we can help each other out, right? Do you need a title person to come on for your podcast? I'm here.
Right? Surprise episode.
Right.
That's right.
Right. You weren't expecting this.
And now this. I like what you do in your podcast, Tanner, where you have little commercials that say your NMLS number. And
Oh yeah, just so when those pesky auditors come through and they're like, well, it didn't have that on there. I'll be like, no, it's obnoxious, and it's usually in the second block now. So yeah, it's gonna haunt people in their dreams the way she read it.
I can imagine that, but I can see using that tactic of anything that you want to repeat, or you want everyone to know in every episode, not just maybe the intro and the outro, but actually putting in little commercials here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I have a local person who's now sponsoring the show, Jason Buttram, with Buttram Photography, and it's a great relationship so far. So I was a big one to get. He found me organically. I would say the coolest thing I've had happen with the podcast for me was I had this guy randomly give me a call, and he's like, hey, and he left me a voicemail. He's like, hey, I got an agent I think would be good for your podcast. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I call him back and I was like, hey, where'd you get my name? Because you're like an up north agent. I figured maybe he was in the MRP, or maybe he was a new agent orientation in Fredericksburg. He's like, nope, I just put in Virginia and real estate, and your podcast came up, and didn't know me from anywhere else. And then that led to having a guest on, and that's led to opportunities. So just the outreach a podcast can have, where you have no idea where somebody's going to listen to your message, and then they may decide they like it. So I thought that has been my favorite part of it so far.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So podcasting is great because it seems like you can get into it with very limited equipment or like budget. You could record it on your iPhone, but I know some of us have gotten a little bit more upgraded microphones. So like, I know Michael, you probably have something fancy. Tanner, you probably have a real nice one. What kind of microphones are you using?
I use a Rode NTS Mini. Let's see if I can put that around here. Bring it back here. It's not focusing on it. Yeah. So I have it on a swing arm right now, but it's portable. I can take it off, and I got a little magnetic stand that I could take with me if I want to go do something in a Starbucks or something, and it connects to my iPad. So.
Very cool.
And this may sound like a silly question to you guys too. Can two people use the same microphone when you're recording?
I would say yes. I mean,
Right?
if you're in the same room together, like I've done that.
Yeah.
We're sitting next to each other. I have like I can only equate it to, it looks like what you imagine from like the old radio shows. Like that's the kind of microphone I order.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $100 on Amazon. My headset plugs into it so I can get the audio too, but we use the same and it seemed fine. I mean, it sounded fine.
Yeah. And how far away were you sitting from each other?
I mean, we were sitting next to each other. Probably not as far as you and I, but like she was right here next to me and it was fine. And it, I guess the better the microphone you get, the more you can tweak it, but it's got sensitivity adjustments and that kind of thing. So you can pick up as little or as much as you want it to in terms of background noise and that kind of thing. No, I mean, once I noodled with it a little bit, it's fine.
Yeah. It might be my sense of personal space as a Southerner. I don't know if you know, but apparently they have the widest personal bubbles. So having someone like right next to me sometimes
it was really
for a whole hour
No, it was,
like is a lot.
But I think that might be where the video component might make it easier, because instead of like looking at each other the whole time like this, you'd be looking more at your camera, which would be probably more in front of you. See what it would just be more like you're sitting next to someone at dinner, as opposed to like you're across from someone and like right here in their face.
Or both like trying to hunch into one microphone.
There's no hunch, like you don't have to do that. Like, this is not American Idol, like you don't have to figure it up.
That's good.
But again, I am no podcasting expert. These guys might be like, hell no, you all need separate microphones. So.
Well, I like what you said, Tanner, about providing your guests with their own microphone and headphones. I would not have thought of that.
No.
But using Zoom is the recording platform is smart.
From my standpoint too, it's kind of nice because, when you're trying to get in front of an agent, then you have some touch points, because it's like, okay, well, we got to go drop off the microphone, and then you got to go pick it up, and then you can drop off some swag, and then you can follow up and let them know how the podcast went. And then so that helps too, from the perspective of potentially they decide they want to work with you. I mean, I've had agents on that I know they're not going to use me because for whatever reason, but then others have come on, and it's been kind of an open door to like, yeah, you have an hour where you're asking the person, like in my case, tell me about your career and everything. And everybody, of course, loves chatting about themselves a little bit. So it's worked out pretty well from that standpoint too.
All right. Yeah, I haven't had any guests, but I know microphones, depending on, like you said, if we're getting advanced or just keeping it simple, you could do one or you could do multiples. And I know I like Rode stuff, and they're not expensive, and you can run 4 to 6 different channels if you want to split out the audio, especially if you have someone with that's really loud. You might want to tune their channel down some or something like that. So, but that's definitely more advanced.
I got one more tip for people in case you do go the Zoom route, that I learned kind of early on. So when I have somebody on the podcast, I always start off by saying like, hey, if I hold up my pencil or a pen, do that for me. Like if I'm doing something annoying, and I always kind of play it off like I'm the one that's going to be doing that. So that way, if like I'm interviewing Michael and he starts like tapping the desk or doing, because people have kind of nervous tics when they're doing it, I can just kind of be like this, and then he would know, oh, that's coming through on the audio side, so he can stop with the tapping the whatever.
People rustling papers, like all of that will come through if it's too close.
Yeah.
That's smart. The signal.
I figured that out after a couple of them, because then you want to make it sound like, hey, if I start doing this, let me know by holding a pencil, and I'll do the same for you.
Awesome.
That's a very good tip. And I like how you play it off like, hey, listen, I'm prone to.
It's all me.
And you just give me like, I would do the same for you. Like,
Right.
You're holding your pencil up every
like
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Me.
like, all right. Who knew you were so annoying? Like, I really thought it was just me. Good idea.
Oh, yeah, it's a good tactic. I like that. Do any of you remember the costs of what you're paying right now for hosting? We use SoundCloud and we pay like $144 a year. So about $12 a month. Pretty reasonable.
I think Anchor's free.
See, that's good. Is it free, Michael?
Yes, Anchor's free. I don't pay anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, it sounds like I might need to switch my hosting services then.
I don't think. I mean, I think you can probably pay, and they give you additional services, but I don't know what they would be. Like maybe I don't know enough to know that I need more services.
Oh, I'll have to look into it, but I didn't know. That's a good thing to suggest for new agents if they're looking for a free solution.
Right.
Because I know $12 a month isn't that much, but it is when you're getting your business started and have lots of.
Well, it's 120 a year, and if you do 5 things like that, then it all adds up.
Mm-hmm.
And some things you have to pay for, but if you don't have to pay for this, then you don't. And I'm pretty sure that you never pay anything for YouTube, right? To post there.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy.
Feel like I've been getting scammed.
You have been.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to switch to Anchor, I think.
And who are you using, Lauren?
We're using SoundCloud right now.
So that's weird because Anchor is actually part of SoundCloud.
Oh, we've definitely been getting scammed, Lauren.
Anchor's the free version of SoundCloud.
Note to self.
No. All right. Well, I will be looking into that.
That's funny.
Um,
No, I mean, I felt like that's what makes podcasts so great is like you're not paying anything for it. And the idea hopefully is to move your business forward and get more business from it. And with your only investment other than a good microphone is your time.
Shoot, I don't think I have any more questions. You guys have any more questions?
No, but I've learned a lot.
I mean, for 45 minutes, that was jam-packed of information.
No,
I
that's a
feel
lot
like.
of information.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I appreciate you guys' time and your tips. Certainly helps me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Gretchen, too. I appreciate it.
Hey, Gretchen, I need to connect with you. I want to start getting more involved with the chamber.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for inviting me today. This was good. I like this stuff when I feel like it gets me all geeked out and excited.
Well, anytime. Come over
know.
anytime.
And now, like, I'll be actually at the chamber today for CNOOS.
Yeah, I'll
so
see you
now
at noon.
See the podcast room when I'm there.
Yeah. Talk to Wendy about that because that was her idea. So
Ooh, okay.
And I want to say too, I think the library has a recording space now in their maker space on Princess Anne.
I think you're right. Yeah, the Idea Lab. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes, that's what it's called.
The Idea Lab.
It's an awesome space. In addition to the recording area, they've got 3D printers, sewing machines. I think they've got a laser cutter.
That's nuts.
They've got all kinds of cool stuff, and I want to use it, but I haven't been over there yet. But it's something cool to look into. And they have a bunch of tutorials on, I don't know if it's on YouTube or on their site, where it kind of teaches you how to use all this stuff, and then you can go get badged and then have free use of the stuff. They also have video recorders you can check out, like camcorders and other stuff. So our library really has stepped it up.
That's
terms of
amazing. I had
resources.
no
Wow.
idea.
Yeah.
That's
Way to
very
go,
cool.
libraries. All right, guys. So thank you. And we'll see you at the next thing. Hopefully the FAR Expo on September 14th.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be a big event. So I appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys. I appreciate